Hello, everyone. How are you doing this great day? I have, as you can see, a beautiful Angela D. Green Esquire. She's going to talk to us all about the entertainment industry and the legal side. As you guys know, that a lot of people are interested in the entertainment industry today, of course, because it is a way to make those millions. So she runs a company called Position for Millions. You can find her on Facebook at Position Me Now. I'm Ronnie Quest. And Angela, go ahead and just introduce yourself for the audience a little bit.
Okay, yeah. Angela Green, attorney here in Memphis, Tennessee, by way of Indiana. So I was born and raised in Gary, Indiana. Did all my schooling at Purdue in West Lafayette, Indiana, and IU, Indianapolis. And so moved here in 98, started practice in 99. And of course, you know, Memphis is kind of known for music and all the independent artists who are here. So I've kind of worked with independent artists all through my career. And one of the things that I just noticed, you know, many of them will come to my office needing services and things. And I would just kind of tell them about different things that they can do to kind of just help lay the foundation for their business. With them being independents, they're basically their own business owners. And these are things that they can do. They didn't necessarily need an attorney to do them, but it would just help make things that much easier as they moved along in their career and put them in a better, I guess you could say, negotiating position. And so I would tell them about copyrights, publishing, you know, things of that nature. And for whatever reason, they wouldn't do it. Who knows why? But they wouldn't do it. And so I'd say in 2010, I just came up with the concept of Position for Millions. Because basically that's what you have to do whenever you're going to get paid in the music industry. You have to either file something, register somewhere, or sign a contract. You just basically have to be in position to collect your money. And so I started doing those services of the copyrights and the publishing setup and all this other stuff, not for legal fees per se, you know, prices or whatever, but it was just a way to kind of help them get those things done and then allow them to help build a relationship, you know, with an attorney. And so I did that. And then over time, it just kind of grew separate from my law practice and kind of turned into a business consulting service.
Okay, good, awesome. So really, so what law were you practicing at first, I guess is my question.
I was always practicing the entertainment, but because of the fact that there are not a lot of artists in Memphis who can pay for legal services, I built my law practice on real estate. So I actually have a very thriving real estate and title insurance agency that is my law practice. And I did both of those practices up until about a couple of years from now. And then I just kind of branched off Position for Millions and just started focusing it outside of the law practice. And then I started just basically building relationships with other attorneys who are still practicing entertainment law. So we do the business consulting, and then we also connect them with entertainment attorneys.
Okay, so it looks like you're also the chairperson for the International Film and Music Festival. Now,
yes.
Is that the Mayfest or no?
No. On Location Memphis is an organization here that, you know, for many years they hosted one of the International Film and Music Festivals in Memphis. Mm-hmm. And I started volunteering with them in 2010 because, you know, my artists were interested in, like, how do you get music in television, film, and visual media, and that sort of thing. So in my quest to kind of figure that out, I started volunteering with them. And, you know, because I was an attorney, they ended up putting me on their board. And I kind of learned a lot about independent filmmakers and the things that they have to go through. And it's really parallel to the independent artists. And so it just so happens that the last 4 years, the president decided to retire, and I didn't want the organization to completely die. So I just said, all right, I'll take it over and see what we can do with it. And then we've actually, in the last 2 years, we've kind of been trying to come up with something called the Memphis Music Bank. And essentially it's a music licensing house for independent artists here in Memphis, where we're kind of teaching them how to protect and prepare their music to be licensed. And then we actually are using the relationships and, you know, just the goodwill that the organization has built over the years with independent filmmakers to get licensing opportunities. So that's kind of what we've been doing. So that's kind of how I parlayed all the years of practicing entertainment law. It's like now it's kind of in my business consulting and then also my philanthropic activities, because On Location Memphis is a nonprofit.
Okay, awesome. Now, okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty, because I got questions, of course.
Okay.
I'm not an artist, I'm not a aspiring artist or anything of that nature. And when they come to me, I send them somewhere else because I don't manage artists. I don't know about that, but I know it's a lot of folks who are interested in this. But I do understand protection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, being a business consultant myself, but I focus on more on, other types of businesses other than entertainment. But I understand, like, when you create something, you need to protect it. And I think a lot of folks don't think about that when they're in the creation mode or when they're just getting started and so forth. And you always hear the stories about, well, Beyonce or somebody took this person's, song or, took their lyric. You always hear, it's always an unknown person. It's almost like, it seems like to me, what I hear, a lot of major artists are looking for artists who are unprotected, so they can take their stuff almost. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what it is. Almost seems like that's what I'm hearing.
It's a shame, but it's almost like getting ripped off is a rite of passage in the industry. So everybody who's famous now has that famous story of, I wrote this song and so-and-so took it and all this other stuff. And the thing of the matter is, protecting your intellectual property actually puts you in a better position, because if a person knows that the paperwork surrounding the ownership of your music is in order, it's a deterrent from taking it, because copyright infringement, that's like an automatic, and it's very expensive if proven. And mind you, nobody's going to say anything until the music start making millions. Okay.
Right.
So, yeah, you can take it all day. And if you take it, I'm fine with it because it needs some exposure. And I'm not going to say anything about it. But as soon as it hits 1 million sales and more, then guess what? An attorney will definitely take it on contingency because you have all your paperwork in order. It's a slam dunk. We're going in and we're just going to negotiate our piece of the pie, which is what everybody's trying to do. But and that's the reason why I tell artists it's better to go ahead and it's cheaper to protect it now than it is to try to prove that someone stole it. You know what I'm saying? Or that they're using it. And that's what it's all about. The whole point of getting in position, because you never know when or if that song is actually going to do something. I remember an artist that came to me. He had put his music up on one of those, sort of like MySpace type websites or whatever. And then it was a major film project. They liked the song. They wanted to put the song in their film, and it was like a Sony film that was going to go direct to DVD, but it was still a major project. And so he had to come to me to basically put all that in play to get it published in order and all this other stuff, because they required it. They wanted, to send them the licensing agreements. They were like, okay, what's your publishing? Where's your copyrights? Where's this and that? And so we had to hurry up and do it so that he could take advantage of the opportunity of this licensing opportunity. Well, you don't want to come across a situation where they say, oh, we can't wait on you to get it together. You want to be able to jump on every opportunity that comes before you. And that's what we talk about, getting in position, being in position, because you never know when that song is going to do something.
Right. Yeah. So that way you want to stay ready so you don't have to get ready, right?
Exactly. You want to stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
But it sounds like
it may cost you.
Yeah. But it sounds like it's cheaper to do it at the beginning than trying to go back and do it after the fact.
Oh yeah, that's just in general. It's always cheaper to get it right on the front end as opposed to trying to fix it on the back end, because it takes more hours to fix it on the back end. And lawyers, we work by the hour.
Yes, that's true. I work by the hour too.
Right.
I understand that.
Exactly.
Right. So I wonder, is there is there a fee? Like, you can kind of give an example of like what a typical copyright fee would be for a song or for or whatever, versus like right now, if you're like at the very beginning stages, versus like how much fees you may get if you wait till later on and then it becomes a legal battle.
Well, I mean, if you go on the website and do it yourself, that fee is going to be $55.
Right.
If you go and you file it yourself. If you hire a company like Position for Millions to file the copyright for you, then you're looking at about 165. Okay. But good thing is though, you can put multiple songs on one application as long as all the authors are the same. So if you have 10 or more songs, 10 to 20 songs or whatever, all the authors are the same, you can put that on one application. That's $55 to $165, depending on how industrious you are. Now, if you want to file a copyright infringement lawsuit, I mean, you're looking at a retainer of, you know, it may be $5,000 to $10,000 or more. You know what I'm saying? To, you know, just file some sort. It may be more than that because I'm not a litigator, so I'm not. I don't know specifically or exactly, but I do know it's gonna be between 5,000 or more just to retain an attorney to move forward. And that's if they say, well, I'm not gonna do it on contingency and that sort of thing. So that's the reason why most artists, they can't fight, you know, their cases because one, the case is not large enough. If it's $1 million case that you know is a slam dunk, then possibly that attorney may take it on contingency because, you know, publicity for them as well as a pretty, you know, slam dunk situation. So they may take it on contingency, which means they're not going to ask for any money up front. But if you don't have a situation like that, you're going to have to come up with the thousands to retain the attorney. And then again, you still may not prevail in your case.
Wow.
But
that's
if,
right.
yeah, but if you're positioned, if you're situated, you may just be able to go to them and put your paperwork in front of them and say, hey, please negotiate with me because I don't want to have to go get this attorney. I have my paperwork in order.
Wow. So you could negotiate out of court if possible, if they're
willing to talk to you.
Right, if they're willing to talk to you. But we know that doesn't always happen, or we look at a lot of stories and that just doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, when it comes up. Mm-hmm. Now, guys, as you tune in, I want to make sure you know that I'm Ronnie Quest. I'm your interviewer for the evening. I'm interviewing Angela D. Green. She's worked with entertainment companies such as Larry, our entertainers as well. Larry Dodson, lead vocalist for the Barkays, the Funk Masters Tour, Mr. Dale, Mally Music, Little Rounds. Hopefully I said that right. Black Rounds. Yep, Revival. And she's in Memphis, Tennessee. She's an entertainment lawyer. So we're kind of talking about getting that legal structure behind you when you are an artist, especially at the beginning. Because I think, like, this is what I think about. I always think when people are creating, or even new entrepreneurs, business owners, and then what we're talking about right now, entertainers, you have to think of take your profession, take what you're building serious. Mm-hmm. So take it very seriously. So go ahead and get the protection you need. Consult with the attorney. Make sure you're doing the right things at a minimum to make sure you're protected, because you're always building things. Just think of it that this is going to be my $1 million ideal. Even if it's not, it's worth the investment up front, guys. Mm-hmm. I agree with you 100%. I can tell you where people always like, I wish I would have came to you years ago. I would have saved so much cost, you know, when I was first getting started. Then now I'm trying to go back and redo things, or trying to fight this or fight that because I didn't have that protection in, or I've been using this name as my company and I shouldn't have been using this name because it actually belongs to somebody else, you know. Right. So that happens all the time. Mm-hmm. And we got to be very, we got to get very diligent and talk to consultants and so forth to make sure we're protecting ourselves. You got to take those ideals, those songs. If you're in the studio or whatever, you're paying for studio time. You got to be serious about it. If you know this is a song that you're going to put out there, you got to be serious about protecting it, because somebody will come up and they will grab it from you. Now, I know I follow a little bit because I do love hip hop. Mm-hmm. So I was listening to De La Soul interview, and I don't know if you got to hear their interview.
No, I haven't.
They actually, you know, let's talk a little bit about this. This was very interesting to me. I didn't realize that they have been in a legal battle with their original record company all this time.
Really?
So they're you know, they're releasing a new album, and they did a kind of social media split because the company was not willing to release their original records to them. They've been trying to get the rights, I guess the master copies, is that my understanding? Mm-hmm. I'm wrong, but the master copies for a while now. At first they would not talk to them. I think it got sold to Sony Records, and then it went back to the original. I'll look up the name of it, who it went back to, but the original record company. But I guess Sony was kind of sitting on it. They didn't do anything with it. They were trying to get information from it. I think they finally like got them to do something. They put something up on social media, and then it kind of made their fans say something. And so Sony finally said something, but then they were trying to make it digital is what they were trying to do, get their musical on digital platform. And so no one can buy it digitally because they were not willing to put it digitally. So they were like, well, can we get it from you guys so we can make it digital? Well, now the original record company finally got it back, and they're getting ready to make it digital.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But the deal is so horrible that they're in, they're literally pretty much not going to get nothing for it.
Okay. Okay.
So, you know,
I'm not surprised.
About that, or like the artists, and I was just like, whoa. Like they were around when I was younger, and this is like a battle. Like seriously.
Because I mean, a lot of times when artists, especially when they're being offered, you know, something by major record labels, they're just happy to be signed. You know, just the fact that they're getting an offer, they're getting an opportunity to create the music. They may be getting a retainer or some upfront money to do some things, and so that's all they're focused on, and they're not really thinking about or understanding the fine print of the situation. Which one? They're not going to own the masters. Those masters are going to belong to the record label. That's normally how it's set up. So you're not going to own that. Then as far as the publishing, the underlining compositions, I'm not sure whether they own those or not, if they were the writers of those songs or not. But if they weren't the writers, then they don't have anything to say about the compositions as well. So it kind of puts you, you know, it puts them in a bad situation. And of course, you know, streaming and digital downloads and all this stuff, that wasn't even in play at the time, you know, De La Soul came out. So, you know, who's to say that the contract even spoke to that? You know, it may have just kind of brushed it over. But obviously, you know, if the deal was kind of one-sided to begin with, you know, it's going to be the same. I mean, they can take the publicity and the resurgence of interest in them, and hopefully, prayerfully, they do have control of their name. Maybe they can parlay that, you know, that renewed interest in them into other things and start creating new music and new content that is solely owned and controlled by them, and just kind of ride that wave and keep it going. But it's not anything that I'm surprised by at all. I mean, because most of those, they were not favorable, you know, to independent artists back then. And I mean, and they're still not. I mean, they're kind of worse because they do 360s now, where they're taking a little bit of it, you know, any possible way you can make money, you know, they're dipping in and getting a piece of it. So that's just kind of how it works. But the good thing with the independent, you know, the rise of the independent artists, they're controlling everything. You know, they are the owner. You know, they're the owner. They own the content. They're putting it out there. They're distributing it themselves, you know, via online distribution. So they're in the position of the record label, and so they're controlling their masters and they're controlling the content. And so it puts them in a whole lot a better situation. And if they are depending on what level they get to independently, it will put them in a better negotiating position if they are approached by majors, you know. So so I hadn't read that, but that's really
So it's Tommy Boy Records. I had to look it up again. I did a whole podcast on it a little bit because it was really interesting. I was like, this is why it's very important you understand the business behind anything you're doing. If you don't understand it, get the folks around you that do understand it. So Tommy Boy Records was the actual original record company, and they were I think it was Warner Music who eventually had bought it. But like you said, when they first got started, nothing was digital, so this was not even something that was discussed. But the deal they signed originally was really not great at all. And I think it sounds like to me they almost, in the interview, you need to watch it because it's very interesting. Almost sounds like they were just like, well, we're good people, so we don't have to, like, this will eventually work out for us, and we're going to just continue to work with them. I don't think they really took it seriously. So like now, you know, or the more educated they got, I think then they began to take it seriously. And then when they started realizing that Warner Music Group and Tommy Boy was just like pretty much ignoring them, like they were not having conversations. They wasn't talking to them, even though they were still technically on their label, because they felt like they didn't have to. So they ended up in 2014. They had just released it for free to everybody on digital themselves. But I don't know how many people actually grabbed it at that point in time. But it sounds like they have been doing things independently, because it sounds like they do at least own their name, but they have had in records out since then. But the original tracks, which made them De La Soul,
right,
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
the ones that made them famous. So it's always something a friend of mine told me. He said the deal that makes you famous is not always the one that make you rich. So
wow. I never even thought about that. So maybe they need to look at that, because that was the thing that they were saying, and they did a social media campaign not too long ago where they were just calling out Tommy Boy Records, letting them know, like letting their fans know, like, hey, like let them know that, you know, this is not us putting it out. They're not negotiating with us. This is not a deal for us. Like, so they put it out on social media. I mean, they were that like upset to where they just like blasted Tommy Boy.
Wow. Okay. I'm looking.
So yeah. So this is why you need to talk to Angela Green, so you won't be like 20 years later, you're like De La Soul. Right. So what else does any artist need to think about when they're recording, or what if they're just a writer? So is the same thing, they just copyright their work, or how's that work?
If you're a writer, you definitely want to think about, you know, your copywriting of your work. Making sure that if you are recording your music, you know, because if you're just a writer, then you just want to go ahead and do the copyrights. But if you're also recording, then you want to make sure that you are, and putting it out, you want to make sure you are with a BMI or ASCAP or a CSAC organization, so that if, you know, your music is getting played on the internet or radio stations or the cable stations, or, you know, that sort of thing, or regular terrestrial radio stations, that you're going to get paid for that. You want to make sure that you have ISRC codes. A lot of artists, I'm finding out, are not aware of ISRC codes, these are codes that are assigned to the individual tracks, and they're embedded in the tracks. It's sort of like your social security number for your tracks, so to speak. PFM, we can assign those codes, but you know, there are other organizations that are out there that can assign the codes. And if you're on your own, if you have your own record label, you actually can get set up so that you can assign your own codes through I think it's RIAA. So that's very important, because those codes are what they use to track your music and to set your metadata for your songs and all this other stuff. So I know a lot of artists don't know that. Also too, if you're working with anybody, if you just write lyrics, but you also deal with someone who writes the music, you should, you know, have some sort of collaboration agreement in place. Something between the two of you. I know some people use split sheets in the studios, which that's good, but it's better to have a collaboration agreement that actually outlines specifically how you're going to handle the content that's created, how the publishing is going to be handled, who's going to administer the publishing. Just have all those questions answered ahead of time, and you can create an agreement that kind of just blankets your relationship with that person. But that's kind of important, because you don't want to go into the studio and create something, and then that once you get it created and you think it's great, then you all can't come to terms on how to split up the ownership interest and how to move forward with it. And that, I've seen many great songs shelved because they couldn't come to terms with the individuals. So that's some of the things. Also being very conscious about buying tracks, beats online. You know, a lot of artists do that and then they write to it. You're not getting the beats, you're not buying them, you're basically licensing them, which means that kind of handicaps you as far as what you're going to be able to do with that song, because technically it's not really all yours. So I usually try to encourage people to kind of stay away from that. I mean, if you're putting together a mixtape or you know, something or whatever that you're not really looking to push and do anything with, then okay. But if you want to, you know, have something that you own, that you file copyrights on and everything like that, then buying a beat or something offline is not going to be beneficial for you.
Right.
So those are just a few I mean, it's a whole lot, but that's just a few things to kind of think about.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask you about that next, really
Okay.
about the beat makers, because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, how do they get protected and how do they come into play with all this? I guess the producers is what their
Mm-hmm.
technical term is. So guys, if you're just joining us, I'm talking to Angela D. Green, Esquire. She is an entertainment attorney. So she's talking about copyright protection, making sure your paper is correct when you sign
Right.
deals,
Right.
ensure that your licensing and everything is intact so that you don't get robbed of your songs and everything, all the hard work that you're doing. Now, I want to get into the producer and the beat maker, because I know they're very important when it comes to a song and track. And how does that all work for the artist? So like, if the artist, let's say if I'm an artist, I can't write, but I can rap. If I have a writer and I have a producer that produces the beat, then what type of deal should be between us? You know, is there a collaboration deal or whatever? And what type of protection can I put around those type of things?
I mean, if the person is creating the beat, technically the music, and
Mm-hmm.
then you have the person who's writing the lyrics, they're the individuals who are going to be the owners of the song right
Okay.
there. So that's why I said that, the collaboration agreement is what comes important, because it kind of governs what that relationship is going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and how you can move forward in the use of that song. If you're just the person who's just the rapper or the artist, it kind of leaves, unless they just decide to cut you into the situation, that's their discretion as to whether they want to give you a piece of the publishing or a part of those rights. But technically, it's really between the person who creates the music and the person who writes the lyrics and everything. And then you kind of go from there. Now, as far as, like if one of them is a producer, that's a totally different lane from the people who actually write the music. Of course, many times they're one and the same, but they can be, different individuals. You have the artist, you have the producer, and then you have the person who actually wrote the song. Those
Right.
can be three different individuals, and you have royalties and splits and everything, based on those different roles and everything. But in the independent world, they all kind of just overlap on each other, because a lot of people just do everything. They write, they produce, they create the music, they do the rapping, they just do the whole thing. So it can be, it can look quite different, on the independent side of things.
Right. I agree. So yeah, so I just wondered about that, because I just know a lot of people probably may find themselves in that type
Mhm.
of situation or in that situation today. I know a lot of people are like very intrigued with the entertainment industry because
Mhm.
of kind of that thought process of
Mhm.
what entertainers are kind of like that lifestyle, I think is what people
Right. Right.
are like privy to. But if you read
Mhm.
Millionaire Next Door, entertainers ain't all the millionaires. So you
Right.
want to get that business going, right?
Right.
That's why that
Exactly.
behind entertainment is so crucial. So even if you become that business person behind entertainment, like Angela,
Mhm.
that's big business.
Mhm. And
Um,
I know
yeah.
another point that I definitely want to put out there is the fact that intellectual property is inheritable. So
Mm-hmm.
even though you're looking to try to be successful in your lifetime, that
Mm-hmm.
may not happen. But you never know what could happen as far as your heirs. And
Oh.
it's actually a situation that really illustrates this. And I think the case came down maybe a couple of years ago. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Big Bang Theory television show.
I've
It's one
heard
of
of
the
it before, but I
Yeah,
never watched
I
it.
never really watched it. I
Right.
never really watched it seriously myself, but I know it's one of the top rated television shows in the United States. Well, in that show, there was a nursery rhyme song that they used over and over again for one of the principal characters in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially that song came from a nursery rhyme book from a publisher out of Kentucky. And this song was written by a lady who, I think it was back in the 1930s. She wrote the song, okay? Or she
Mm-hmm.
wrote the lyrics. It was like a nursery rhyme. And so, of course, they were thinking, they went to the publisher and they were like, they got their rights to use it from the publisher. Of course, the book publisher said okay, but technically the book publisher didn't own the rights to the actual song itself. Of course, years ago, they've been using the songs to #1 show. I mean, these people are making $400,000 to almost $1 million per episode. You know, so that TV show is making a lot of money. Well, her daughters, because the lady who wrote it, she lived to about 99, then she passed away. Her daughters in their 70s found out that they were using this song in this major TV show, and they filed a lawsuit. Came down a couple of years ago. They lost the lawsuit. And the reason why they lost the lawsuit was because the court said they could not show that they had a valid registered copyright.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And because they said they couldn't rely on the book. The book, they've copyrighted the book, but the book was just a collaboration of all the songs. Their mother should have had her own copyright on those lyrics, and they couldn't prove that she had maintained that. And they ended up throwing it out. That's $1 million loss for her heirs. And you have to, and who would have thought, 100 years after she wrote that song, that it would be a part of a major TV show and generating that kind of money. And because she did live to 99, her copyright would be good up into 75 years after her death. So that's 175 years they could have been making money off of that song. So people, it's not just about you today, it's about generations to come if you're going to be creating this content.
Right. Wow. So I didn't even think about it that way, because that is like legacy right there. Like you said, that's $1 million. I wonder how much money did they lose going to court?
Exactly. Who knows?
Fighting that battle, and then the judge deciding, well, you can't really prove because you never got a legal copyright.
Exactly.
All the way on that phone. Wow. I didn't even think people think about that. Like you said, that could happen to a lot of people. You come up with a song and it picks up in your neighborhood or whatever. You never know who you may be living next to or whatever. They may go on write for TV or be on TV or whatever. Like it's so funny that I'm saying this. It's a young man that I actually babysitted. So let me tell you guys, this could actually happen, what you're saying. It's a young guy that I babysit that I actually have, taught how to do math, English, helping with his homework or whatever while he was growing up, and he's on TV today. He hosts shows, but he's literally on TV today. So it may not seem like it, may be seeming far-fetched to just tell you how old I am. But so he is on like Entertainment Tonight or whatever, Hollywood, Access Hollywood or whatever. He's the host. He's posted on shows now. So this is something that can honestly happen. So it's true. So yeah, you want to get that protection in. That's why I said, when you create something, when you do something, don't play with it when it comes to it. Take it very serious. If you're in the entertainment industry, if you truly saying, I'm going to be an artist, I'm going to be a rapper, take each song, take the time to copyright it. I like the fact that you brought up that you can put, several songs in the same copyright. I always tell people you can put several things in the same copyright. I had learned that from a lawyer when I first started my business. When I was doing my copyright, and he was like, well, you can put this in the same copyright. I was like, really? I didn't know, but I learned that because I talked to a lawyer. So you want to take the value of that information and do those things to protect yourself. Like you said, it's only $55 to $165. It's worth it, especially if you have $1 million, $100,000, $25,000 idea, or you could have a loss of that much. You don't want to lose that, and you have that copyright that is just it's minimum pennies on the dollar.
Yeah,
you think about it, it's worth it. If you're serious about your business, you should be willing to invest in that protection, or your song, your entertainment, your livelihood, whatever, what is the term for the entertainment industry today? I want to say, are they artists, rappers, or are they, look, I'm trying to think, producer, beat makers, all those different types of things.
I just call them creatives. I mean, to me, that's creative. That's all that covers everybody.
Right, covers everybody. So if you're creative, you got to take that serious. And I think about, all the things I know I see and hear of, and it happens. It may not seem like it's going to happen to you, but it's very important that you really do take this serious. Now, what anything else you want to add to the interview? Like, what other thoughts do you have that people should be aware of if they're entering the entertainment industry?
I think too, the importance of your name, your trade name, protecting that. One, making sure no other people are using it, because I've seen that where people spend so much money and time building up and getting name recognition for their name, and then they realize that there are about 4 or 5 other different artists out there using the same name as artists, you know, that sort of thing. So I had a client of mine. He wanted to use Dre Day. You know, his name was Andre. So he was a rapper. He wanted to use Dre Day. It was so, you know, and he put a lot of money, pictures and everything into it. And it was so many artists when we actually Googled it and started looking that was using Dre Day. You know, I mean, it's just like, it's not even worth it. So it's important to, you know, figure out if, you know, if your name is unique, and then if it is, then really rallying around that name, protecting it, go ahead and grabbing the domain, website name for it, and then actually using it out in public. Because, you know, a lot of people don't understand with trademark law, you get your ownership, or you get your rights in it through the use, you know, through the public actually recognizing you and your services by that name. So, you know, getting out there and using it, being first in time with that. And then over time, you know, then you can look at, you know, filing your trademarks, whether it be, you know, with just the state or going federal, you know, whichever way. But first and foremost, you need to use it. So, you know, don't get bogged down with, I don't have the money to file a trademark. Use it, because as long as you use it and tie it up as much as you can, buy the domain name and put it out there on Facebook, use it as your name for your Twitter and all sorts of stuff. Just get it out there circulating and being used as much as possible in association with you. And over time, you can file those trademarks, but you will be able to protect your name as long as you get out there and use it. So that's probably another thing that I want artists to really know about, because many of them, they want to sit on the name, and I'm like, don't do that.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, because that's your trade name. So would they register that literally with the trademark? Is that how that the name actually gets registered that way? Okay.
Yeah, once you get ready to register it. But see, with that application, whether it's just for the state or federal, you have to tell them your first date of use in public. So you have to tell them when you start using it in the public, and you have to be able to prove that the public knows you by that name. So that's why I say just use it, just continue to use it and really get it out there. You know, a good example currently is, and this is not her name, but, you know, Cardi B, I think you read the articles, they were talking about, she just filed the trademark on her, I guess her catchphrase or something like that. But if you see, I don't know how long she's been out there, but you see she's been using the catchphrase for however long it is. So now people know her by the catchphrase. She's synonymous with the catchphrase. So now what has she done? She has basically positioned herself for millions now by filing a trademark on the catchphrase. Because now she's going to make sure that anybody else who want to try to use the catchphrase, they're going to have to come through her. They're going to have to pay her, and then she can monetize the catchphrase. But she didn't, you know, not use the catchphrase because she hadn't filed the trademark. She used it first, and then she filed the trademark once she built up the value and showed that, you know, this catchphrase is synonymous with me, my services, and what I do.
Right. And I did see, I was kind of reading up on it. I don't follow Cardi B like that, so I'm sorry, guys. I don't. But I did see a comment, and
I saw the article.
Hot water again for another comment evidently she made. She's always in hot water. But I did see that somebody put under a post that it was some other artist that was using it. Now that we're talking about the legal entertainment part behind it, Cardi B was, and that Cardi B had got it from her. And I was thinking, I was like, well, if it's not legally protected, then she don't have a right to it, because Cardi can go ahead and just snatch it up.
Just snatch it up, yeah. And who know, you know, and it's like, and at this point, is the catchphrase, is it, when you hear it, who do you think about? Do you think Cardi B, or do you think about this other artist? If the public is thinking Cardi B, then, you know, Cardi B may not be able to stop her if she was first in time, but this lady probably won't be able to stop Cardi B, because she definitely is known, you know, she's pushed that catchphrase a lot further than the other artists. And so those are a lot of the wrangles, you know, that they have to deal with. That may have been what made her go ahead and file that trademark, you know, so that she can lock it up.
Lock it up and keep holding. Right.
Yeah.
So those legal battles definitely happen, and you see them all the time if you're in the business, or just, you know, in general, you'll see people saying, hey, you know, that's my catchphrase, or that's that. And you know, I know, like when you said you have to use it. So like a lot of people would call me, or some people still to this day call me my business name, and they don't call me Ronique. They'll say, hey, R3 or R3 Unlimited, like because they remember my business name,
right?
They remember my name,
right?
So you have to use it, because then that's proof of use, and like I own some trademarks and copyrights and so forth, just because I protected my brand when I first started, because I was just like, you know, I'm taking it serious, you know, whatever happens to it, to me, it was worth protecting. It's my baby,
right?
You know,
exactly.
That's how you got to think about it, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Think about it.
So any last thoughts or words for the listeners or viewers today, or?
Well, I just encourage them to keep creating the content, and as you create that content, just remember any one of those songs could be your $1 million payday. So just make sure you always stay positioned. Right,
and then make sure you reach out to Angela. So go ahead and leave your contact info and how they can reach out to you.
If you want to reach out to me, you can always reach out to us through our website, which is positionmenow.com. That's our website. And then also I'm usually on Facebook. So you can either find me on my Facebook page, which is Angela Green, or the Position Me Now Facebook page.
Okay. So thank you so much for a great interview, Angela. I appreciate all the knowledge you bestowed on us today. So I may have you again. I don't know. We'll see. I definitely know we can get into some more conversations about some more artists, because the artists are always on top of everybody's minds right now, right? Everything that's going on. I'm your interviewee or host for the evening, Ronique West. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at Ronique West on Instagram. And everybody have a great one. Thank you.